Good morning and welcome to the Leveling Up podcast. I'm your host, Carrie Palaio, proud to be the Executive Director of the Greater Utica Chamber of Commerce and your host for today's podcast. I have a great guest with me today, so I'm going to do a really short intro because she just has so much to share, and I just had amazing conversations and learned so much from her. So what's going on at the Chamber? Well, it's finally spring. We had a bustling business after hours last night at the Adirondack Railroad, and we were on the train. If you didn't know, not only do they do train rides, but they have rail bikes up in Old Forge. They had them out last evening, and people were really enamored by them. So if that's on your bucket list to do, sign up quickly because they fill up all the way into this summer. Our next business after hours is on Wednesday, May 24th at the Central New York Conservancy Center. And they have some big news they're going to be sharing. So you're going to want to sign up that evening because it's going to be a very special day for that. We also have our Meet the Candidate for Mayor series coming up on Tuesday, June 6th at the Nexus Center. And you can find all of this information and register online at greateruticachamber.org, our website. You can also sign up for email blasts, and we can keep you in the know on all of these things that are happening and more. It is my pleasure today to introduce my guest, Jenn Keida from Standard Heating, Cooling, and Insulating, who is not only a past chair of our board of directors, but she is our Businesswoman of the Year this year, and we will be honoring her in October at Harts Hill Inn at a very special evening reception. And it'll be just a fantastic night. So welcome, Jenn.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you've gotten some great publicity lately, too. The CNY Business Journal just did a fantastic story on you being a woman in a non-traditional industry.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the article, for those who may have read it, and a little bit about your story about how you got involved in the construction industry as a woman, for people who don't know you.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the area. I went to Mount Markham, graduated from Mount Markham, and my family business was Standard Insulating, and at the time it was run right out of our home in West Winfield. And I was the oldest of 4 daughters. First one to go to college, and I ran to college, so I wanted to get out. But once I graduated, which I actually graduated with a bachelor's in fine arts, which is painting, I realized out in the real world that that wasn't really going to give me a great career opportunity. So I did a few things and before joining Standard, and I moved to Connecticut to work out of their Connecticut branch. It honestly was the first time that I actually had been introduced to construction and insulation because even though I grew up in the home, I didn't have much to do with it at all. Right. And so at a very young age, I joined the company and started my journey there. A couple of years later, we recognized that it was probably not a good fit for business, and we moved all of our trucks back to the Mohawk Valley, and I came with it and became a salesperson here locally at that time, and that was 2003. So it's been a long time since I've been there. And throughout that time, I was a salesman. I learned a lot about the installs. And as I grew in the company, I recognized that being a woman had its advantages, but had a lot of disadvantages too. So I kind of dove in deep, made sure I was the most experienced person there. I knew the most, had the most certifications, because that was really the only way I could be relevant in some of the groups that I was participating in. And
that put you in some unique positions in leadership roles across not only the New York, but across the U.S.
Yeah. I was able to participate in some of the national industry boards, which gave me an opportunity to meet other people in the profession that were outside of the New York area and kind of see where we could really take the business, that type of thing. But I was working for my parents for a long period of time, and so not until 2020 were we able to make the transition. And so we were able to buy the business. I have a business partner, Rich Waite, who has been with the company longer than I had, and so he and I have, kind of we've gone in a different path than the company had for the last, it was started in 1928, and my parents bought it in 1980.
And you bought it at a very interesting time. You closed February
1st of 2020. And 6 weeks later, we were shut down with COVID. So.
But you actually turned that into an opportunity. Tell me about how you were able to take that time to plan for your business and grow and implement some changes.
Yeah, so we were certainly overwhelmed just with the transition and a lot of things going on, and then COVID hit. So we obviously instantly were overwhelmed. We had to get everybody remote and figure out who was going to go on furlough and doing all those things, find out if we were essential, what we were going to do on that. But once that settled in, within a couple of weeks, my partner Rich and I found ourselves the only ones in the office at that time, and it gave us a time to sit down together, really put a strategic plan together. Where did we want to take this? How did we want to do this? What was important to us? And by making us slow down, it gave us that opportunity. So once things started pulling back together, we were able to really go in a very different direction pretty quickly because we had the time to plan for it.
Right, and you've had exponential growth since then in your employees. And the one thing, we hear over and over again is how do you hire in this time? Because it's very difficult. And you've initiated some really cool things centering around employee culture and benefits. Talk to other business owners out there about what you've done to retain and attract employees.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing we did was we hired some really key people and to really create some strength in the organization. Our CFO, Jeff Belisle, came on board, and he really helped create some structure and really some fiscal health that we really needed to see. We have our VP of Operations, Jason Porter, who has been with us for a really long time. We put him in a role that could really control a lot of the operations. And then we brought on Brooke Kanifka, who is actually my sister, and her job was to focus on the people we had, recruit people, new people, and create a culture and benefits that were way above and beyond what anybody else in this industry could give. And so by doing that, it gave us the tools to be able to do some of these really crazy things like $2,000 vacation reimbursement every year. So our employees don't get a $2,000 bonus per se. They have to actually go on vacation and turn their receipts in. And so I have employees that have gone on vacation for the first time in 15, 20 years. And then they know the value of PTO and taking time for your family and friends.
Exactly.
So that's been one of the really great benefits that we've implemented that are a little bit different.
Yeah, kind of, there's such a focus on mental health now, so it forces somebody to focus on that, but it also retains a loyal employee because in turn, they know that they're valued by you.
Right. I mean, and that's just like something great on the surface that everybody can see, and but creating that culture where people are comfortable, giving them the opportunity to grow, seeing where they can grow. So with our significant growth, we've had some people that have moved from an installer to a manager or supervisor in a matter of just a couple of years. Yeah. And before that, they didn't see those opportunities because we weren't growing. So, so that's really,
so you created clear pathways for them to grow within the company, so they know, okay, this is where I am now, and this is where I could be.
Right. What can I do to get to this place? And and we've had people shift in the company. One of our really great employees, Dave Goodfriend, who came on board to help us start our HVAC division, has been in the HVAC industry. I don't want to say too much because I'll share all of these, but for a long time. Yeah. And he actually has shifted out of the HVAC division of the company, and he's now an energy auditor. And so he's used his skill set from previous times to be able to shift and do something different, even inside our own company. So those stories and those things are really great. And, people can continue to evolve in the company, which is, I think is one of the best parts of it.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about the new strategy that you've done. You like to use the word disruption. Yeah. And we're here at Disruption Network, right? So great, good. About for your customers and changing the way that you actually do business and support people here. Yeah.
So we are the top contractor in the state of New York working with the Empower program through NYSERDA. It's something that we're very well known for, which is uncovering rebates to provide 100% free energy upgrades. But that has led us to be able to participate in a lot of other programs and a lot of other rebates and initiatives. But through that program, I recognized as we got into the HVAC world industry, that there was a lot of unease with customers about what we were doing in their houses. Did they trust that we were doing the things that we should be doing? Could it be fixed, or does it need to be upgraded? And so we changed things around completely. And our service techs will go to a home, and if they can fix it in less than an hour with no parts, then we don't charge the customer. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we don't want people to think that we're just trying to get in there so we can sell them a hot water tank or do something like that. And we want people especially people with low income, to feel comfortable to call us if they don't think something's safe or something is just not right, and we can see it. And if we do find something wrong, we tell them about it, and if they can't afford it, we find ways to incorporate different programs to help them, or we fix it on the spot there. 50% of our calls are not charged because they're simple little things that people just don't know or are aware of.
Yeah, just a simple switch, or once you change your air filter, you got to toggle it back on.
Exactly, you know about that.
I know about that. Thanksgiving morning.
Exactly. And the other thing is, for our service techs, they're mechanics. They want to fix things. They don't want to sell things, and they don't want that pressure to have to determine if it needs to be sold or not. And so our salesmen don't get commissioned or bonused or have a quota for anything that they might have, upsell at a house, where that's the case in a lot of other HVAC companies. It's kind of the driving force for their sales in a lot of HVAC companies. So we take that right out of the mix, and which means our service department doesn't have that weight of having to be a salesman. They really are there to be a mechanic, and the customer can be very, comfortable that when they get there, they're there to fix something if they can. Yeah. So it's been I have a lot of even manufacturers. How in the world are you doing this? Right. And I think our business model is one that we utilize different opportunities to help pay for things, and and so by being able to look at things differently, we've been able to disrupt that. So it's not something that anybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And it's not a bait and switch by any means. It's just a different business model in an industry that's not seen that before.
Right. And not only is that great for your customers, but it also improves our housing stock.
Yeah.
Because we have a tendency here in upstate New York to not keep our houses up to date.
Yeah.
We just kind of, really focus on what we can do, and that hurts us in the long run because it hurts our housing stock.
Yeah, we're reactive. We wait till something really bad happens before we pay attention to it. So we're trying to change that, and it's different culturally and a lot of different things. We're trying to work with the center to help translate for people so that those people that don't understand English or can read or see our TV commercials that they don't know what that means. We want to translate that so they have those services available to them too. So
that's great. We're such a diverse community, and we have to recognize that English isn't everybody's first language here.
It. And we're starting on that path with some help from some of our customers. We actually have one great customer who's helped us translate for a lot of his friends and neighborhood, and so he's really helped us move along in that manner. So yeah.
So let's switch and pivot and talk about, not only are you a leader within, business owner, but you're a leader in the community in certain ways. You led the chamber a while back. I won't say how long ago, but,
another life,
you're
I
longer,
feel like.
a little bit of your younger days.
Yeah.
Tell me what you learned from that experience, and also from the experiences that you've learned giving back through the American Heart Association. That's actually how we met, was working on some different women's programs through that. And, the importance of giving back in your leadership roles in the community. Yeah.
Well, my time at the chamber, I was in sales. I saw it as a business opportunity to meet other people. And I very quickly got involved and ended up on committees. And the next thing I knew, I was on the board. And then the next thing I knew, I was, leading it. And I was pretty young at the time, and a female, which was obviously unusual as well. But it taught me about the community. It taught me about what's important in the community. It taught me how to be on a board and how to interact with people on the board and what's important and how to communicate and when to speak up and when to stay quiet. And so it was probably a really pivotal moment for me in business-wise because it gave me the opportunity to learn how to do that. And so I took that experience and took it to a lot of other boards nationally. But locally here, I'm now on the Heart Association board too. And so I have a very personal reason to do that, and so I've continued to try to contribute to that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. And just a plug, I'll be doing the treadmill challenge on June 16th, so watch out for that. We'll be plugging that as we get a little bit closer to that date too.
Yeah.
So.
The Heart Run and Walk is coming up in June, and it's at Accelerate now instead of at Utica College or Utica University. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things have changed, but I think, it'll be nice to walk in June rather than when it's cold and snowing and all those kinds of things. But yeah, it's a great event, and we're really excited about that. But in general, what I think I learned is our community knows boards by their events, but what they don't know about all of the other things that are happening kind of quietly throughout the community, that the Heart Association helps with blood pressure monitoring and helping communities and teaching our children about healthy eating and the bad things about vaping and all those kinds of things that kind of lay low that our community doesn't always see, like they do the luncheons and the walks.
Right.
Those things create funding so that we can do those other things for them. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty important to me. So.
Yeah. And what else is important to you is your girls.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about them yesterday and how raising women now and in the different opportunities, and you had some strong thoughts and feelings on that.
Well, it's funny because in that article that the Journal wrote me, the first thing she asked me was, when did you realize that being a female, a girl, was going to cause you to not have the same opportunities that the boys had? And it really was back when I was a kid and I wanted to play Little League, and I was not allowed to even complete my tryout because I would have taken a spot for a boy from the Little League team. It seems so crazy, where we are now in the opportunities the girls have now, but it still is a stigma that can girls do the same thing that boys can do, or can women, participate in different industries the same way men? And what I've learned over the time is that we are different. Men and women are different. We have different ways to be able to contribute. And so it's not necessarily that we want to be equal in who we are, but equal opportunity is more, I think, the important part of it. And so my time in my position, I think, has taught my girls to do what they want to do. So they don't want to do a legacy. They don't want to be in the business. They want to do their own thing. And it's given them the opportunity to take on challenges and choices that maybe they might not have had they not had, me leading them, saying, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want, but you need a career to do it.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit of a realist,
yeah,
too.
Exactly.
So, some of those things can be hobbies, like painting and fueling your art.
Yes.
And you use a little bit of that in your career. We talked about how you use a little bit of, that skill set in your career. Yeah. But some of them can be hobbies and some of them can be an actual career.
Yeah, actually. And I think embracing the things that are important to you, you can always incorporate them into whatever career you choose. So, whether you're in a creative industry or you're not, creativity is really important. I mean, we're in insulation and heating and cooling, and we use creativity all the time, whether it be how we market or how we create a work environment, those kinds of things. So they're all really important. So I do use some of that creativity that I kind of built on many years ago from my studies in painting and the importance of creativity, so that's really important. But I'm really proud of my girls. They're both kind of gone on different journeys and some really out-of-the-box kind of journeys. My youngest daughter is going to school for mortuary science, and I'm proud that she wasn't hesitant on taking that track because it was unusual.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The one other thing I really wanted to touch upon that we talked about was the importance of having a mentor and what that's done for you in your career and how you think that can help people to grow.
Yeah.
So for people who maybe are, in our Catalyst Young Professional group and looking for that inspiration, tell me a little bit about how you found your mentor and how that's kind of helped you to grow.
Yeah, I don't think I even knew that I needed a mentor back when I actually found mine. And Jeff Schaefer, who was a really big part of the business community here in the Mohawk Valley, Utica, started as a sales trainer for the company, myself, Rich, and that evolved into him just being that mentor position. It evolved into it, and I look back and how much of my decisions were influenced by my communication with him, whether he told me to get up off my butt and go do something, quit complaining about something, or just encouraged me and said, you can do this, now I reflect back and I see how important it is. So I encourage everybody that whether it be my employees, my friends, find a mentor, find a sponsor, and find a coach. They're three very different things. A mentor is somebody that's really committed to you and your development. A sponsor is somebody that's just going to introduce you to a lot of different people and opportunities. And a coach is really somebody that's going to work with you on the things that maybe you're weak in, whether it's emotional intelligence or it's, how to lead or do something like that. So, so I encourage everybody to kind of see the difference in those three and seek them out. It could be an old teacher. It could be the parent of one of your friends from high school. It could be, somebody
that you look up to in the business community.
Yeah, exactly. Anything, any of those. So, and I can say that most people are absolutely flattered when you reach out and say, would you mind being my mentor? And they want to provide that information. So, yeah, that's probably the best advice I could give any emerging business person, male or female. Find a mentor. Jeff, he still guides me to this day, and he's retired. And but when I have a big decision to make, he's the first person I call. Yeah. So yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
So I know that was some good advice, but the name of this podcast is Leveling Up.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you what either personally or professionally you're doing to level up in your life. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday, so it's exciting.
I know. I think going to school and getting a college degree in painting didn't prohibit me from doing some things, but I certainly started to recognize how important education was. And about a little over 10 years ago, I got involved with Goldman Sachs' 10,000 Small Business Program, and that introduced me to the concept, like, there's a lot to learn out there. And they broke down the business for me and helped me see opportunities and how to approach those. And so now that the company is growing so significantly, I tell my people all the time, I know you've never managed a division this big. I've never run a company this big either. So I am now pursuing my MBA out of Boston University. I'm just over halfway done. It's a significant amount of work.
Yeah, absolutely.
On top of all the other commitments that I have. But I think I need to be an example to all of the people that work with us and my team that it's important to continue to invest in yourself. And you're never going to get to where you need to be. There's always something to learn, whether you're going to read a book, whether you take a class, whether you get another degree, whether you get a new certification. It's always look to find a way to learn something new. Yeah. So that's how I'm leveling up. I'm going to go from having a BFA to having an MBA. So 30 years later.
Couple different letters in there.
A couple decades later, but yeah, it's exciting. And I'm learning a lot. I'm really learning a lot.
And I know in addition to that, you're a huge reader and you read a lot of books, and you mentioned a few to me. Any that you want to throw out to our audience?
I'm a big fan of Adam Grant. That's really where the disruption part of my business perspective comes from. And I look for a lot of emotional kind of leadership things, and Simon Sinek is really great. And and so Good to Great. Like, there's just lots of books that are really important. I go away on vacation and I read, and I come back and my team says, "Oh no, what's Jenn going to implement? What's she going to do now?
Next?
What's next?" Because it just generates ideas, and that's what's really most important.
That's what you should always be looking for, is what's next.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. How are we going to do things a little bit better? What can we do? And having the opportunity to do it. I think that's the best part.
And what's come out of that is better results for your customers, better quality of life for your employees. So just those little tweaks of what's next can really impact somebody in such a way that you don't realize.
It does. And it's helped us start our branch out in the Albany market. So, we're really excited about that. And, we have some people that are moving out there and helping us start that and building our team out in Albany. And it's just everybody's leveling up to do it. I've got foremen that are leveling up to supervisors leveling up to managers. Now I have directors that were managers, and I have vice presidents, and all these people that maybe 3 or 4 years ago didn't see those opportunities, and they do now. So it's all about, like, how are you going to level up? What are you going to do? So it's pretty cool, because that's definitely one of our themes for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
So speaking of themes, we've got Earth Day coming up.
Yes.
I know you're participating in the cleanup for Keep Mohawk Valley Beautiful.
Yes.
So you've adopted a park that you're going to be cleaning up.
Yes.
Our Catalyst Young Professionals group is going to get involved and clean up a park as well. So we encourage all of our listeners to go to the Mohawk Valley Economic Development District, mvedd.org, KMVB, Keep Mohawk Valley Beautiful, KMVB, and sign up for a cleanup. Just Google it all. Just Google it all.
No,
It'll get you there.
It's important for us to, we help communities, obviously, by helping improve their homes, but to improve the community and where those homes children's play in is really important to us too. And we try to get involved as much as we can. My business partner Rich is going to be in a wheelchair tonight at the Citron celebrity basketball game, so we're going to be there to cheer him on. So any way we can help influence and remind people what a really cool place this is to live. That's what we want to do.
It is.
So, yeah.
And if you don't know, check out what'supstateny.com for
Okay.
everything going on in the upstate region. One of our other little projects that we'll
There you
talk
go.
about another time,
Yeah.
because we've taken up so much of your time this
thank you
morning,
for
Jen. We
having me.
can't wait to honor you in October.
Thank you.
I think
humbling.
our board selected, and you were nominated. There was a nomination process, and then a board selection process. So
Yeah, it was a complete shock to me. I had no idea.
It's
until you
honestly
called
probably
me.
one of my favorite things to
Yeah.
do is to make those phone calls.
Yeah,
and
when you called, I just had to sit down like, wait, what? Are you sure? Maybe you should go back and check.
No, truly
But, yeah,
deserving.
Thank
Truly
you. I
deserving.
appreciate that.
So,
I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
all right. Well, I think we covered everything today, so I hope you've been inspired by Jen as much as I am. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our sponsors for the podcast. The podcast sponsors for this episode are Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield and First Source Federal Credit Union. I also have to thank our platinum sponsors who support everything that we do here at the Chamber: AmeriQ, Kelberman Center, Master Vito Hyundai, MVHS, and StaffWorks. Thank you so much for your support. As Jen and I kind of talked about, it's all those little things that organizations do on the day-to-day that those platinum sponsors support all the work that we do for small businesses. So we couldn't do without you. Take care and stay kind to Utica.